Sweetheart, it's okay, she whispers, though her own teeth are chattering. The boy can't be more than 5, with dark curls plastered to his forehead and eyes like storm clouds. Your mama's coming back. She just went to get help. Except Margot watched the woman run off 20 minutes ago, designer heels clicking against wet pavement, phone pressed to her ear. The boy had wandered away from some fancy event at the hotel across the street. Margot had seen the valets, the black cars, the women in gowns that cost more than she'd made in a year when she still had a job, when she still had a home. I want my papa, the boy hiccups against her shoulder. His small fingers clutch the flannel, and something in Margot's chest cracks open. She knows what it feels like to want someone who isn't coming. I know, baby. I know. She shifts her weight, trying to shield him better from the rain. Her legs ache from standing, from walking, from the endless motion of having nowhere to go. The shelter was full tonight. They're always full on Thursdays. What are you doing with my son? The voice cuts through the rain like a blade, smooth, cold, and absolutely lethal. Margot's head snaps up, and her heart stops. The man standing at the mouth of the alley shouldn't exist. That's her first thought. He's too tall, too perfect, too still. His suit probably costs more than her childhood home, charcoal gray and perfectly tailored, despite the rain that doesn't seem to touch him. Dark hair swept back from a face that could sell anything to anyone, except there's nothing warm in those eyes. They're the color of burnt amber, and right now they're fixed on her like she's something that crawled out of the dumpster behind her, which, to be fair, she did. Last night. Margot's voice cracks. He was alone. He was crying. I was just keeping him from his family. The man takes a step closer, and Margot feels it in her bones. There's something wrong about him, something that makes her hindbrain scream danger. While looking for an opportunity, perhaps? The little boy lifts his head from Margot's shoulder. Papa! Papa, of course, because this is exactly how Margot's life goes. She tries to do one good thing, and ends up looking like a kidnapper to someone who probably has lawyers on speed dial. She tries to unwrap the flannel from the boy, but he clings tighter. I was keeping him dry. I saw him standing in the rain, crying, and no one was coming. So you took him. The man's eyes narrow, and Margot swears she sees something flash in them, something that isn't quite human. Do you know who I am? Someone who left his kid alone? The words are out before Margot can stop them. Stupid. So stupid. But she's cold and tired, and hasn't eaten since yesterday, and this man in his perfect suit is looking at her like she's garbage. The temperature in the alley drops 10 degrees. Papa, don't be mad. The boy's small voice breaks the tension. The nice lady shared her blanket. I was scared. The man's expression doesn't change, but something shifts in his posture. His eyes move from Margot to the flannel shirt, the one good thing she has left, now soaked through and wrapped around a child who isn't hers. Theron. Another man appears behind the first, broader and somehow even more intimidating. We need to go. The council. Find the nanny. The first man, Theron, cuts him off. His voice could freeze blood. And then fire her. Already done. Theron turns back to Margot. The boy is climbing down now, reluctant, still clutching a corner of the flannel. When his small feet hit the wet pavement, he looks up at Margot with those storm-gray eyes. Thank you for keeping me safe, he says with the kind of solemn formality that breaks hearts. Margot manages a smile. Anytime, sweetheart. Caspian, come here. Theron's voice softens exactly 1 degree. The boy scurries to his father, who lifts him with an ease that suggests supernatural strength. For just a second, Theron's hand rests on his son's head, protective and gentle. And Margot sees the truth. This man loves his child more than anything in the world. It makes what comes next worse. If I ever see you near my son again, Theron says quietly, you'll regret it. Then he's gone, sweeping out of the alley with Caspian in his arms and the other man trailing behind like a shadow. Margot is left standing in the rain, shivering, with her father's flannel shirt still dry in the corner where she'd kept it away from the wet. She slides down the wall and sits in a puddle that smells like rotten produce and cigarettes. Her hands shake as she wraps the flannel around herself. "You're welcome," she whispers to no one. The rain keeps falling. 3 days later, Margot is wiping down tables at Murphy's diner when she sees him again. She almost drops the coffee pot. Theron Ashford walks through the door like he owns it, and for all Margot knows, he does. The breakfast crowd goes quiet. Even Mrs. Chen, who's been coming here for 30 years and never stops talking, falls silent. He's wearing another perfect suit, black this time, and those amber eyes scan the room like he's looking for something. They land on Margot. Her pulse spikes. Run, every instinct screams. But she's finally got this job. 3 days of probation, minimum wage plus tips, and Bernie promised her a real chance if she didn't screw up. She's been sleeping in the storage room. She can't lose this. Theron sits in her section. Of course he does. Margot takes a breath, smooths down her borrowed uniform, too tight in the shoulders, too loose everywhere else, and walks over with her order pad and her best customer service smile. "Good morning, what can I get you?" He doesn't look at the menu. Coffee, black, and information. The coffee I can do. The information depends on what you're asking. Your name. Margot's pen hovers over her pad. Why? Because I'd like to know who was kind to my son. His voice is neutral, but there's something underneath it. And because I was told I made certain assumptions that were uncharitable. Assumptions. Margot's laugh is sharp. You threatened me. I did. And now you want coffee. I want to apologize. The words sound like they cost him. My son hasn't stopped talking about the nice lady with the blanket. He wants to thank you properly. And a pause, almost imperceptible. I reacted poorly. Margot studies him. In the fluorescent lights of Murphy's diner, he looks less like a marble statue and more like a person. There are shadows under his eyes, tension in his jaw. The hand resting on the table has faint scars across the knuckles. Apology accepted, she says, because what else can she say? I'll get your coffee. She turns to leave, but his voice stops her. Margot Hayes, age 28, former financial analyst at Morrison & Ross until the company downsized, and you fell through the cracks. No family, no permanent address. He says it matter-of-factly, without cruelty. You've been sleeping in this diner's storage room for 3 days. Margot's blood turns to ice. She spins around. How do you... I make it my business to know about people who interact with my son. Theron leans back in his chair. And what I learned is that you gave him the only thing of value you possessed to keep him warm while waiting in the rain. The shirt was your father's. He died when you were 16. The diner spins. Margot grips the table edge. You have no right. I have every right to protect my son. What I didn't have was the right to judge you for doing the same. He pulls something from his pocket. A business card, heavy stock, embossed with gold. I'm offering you a job. I have a job. You have probationary employment at minimum wage while sleeping on flour sacks. His eyes don't leave hers. I'm offering you a position as Caspian's companion. Someone to be there when I travel, when business requires my attention. Someone he already trusts. You mean a nanny? I mean someone who would step between a child and the rain without thinking twice. Theron sets the card on the table. Room and board included. Salary that will get you back on your feet. And a chance to stop running. Margot stares at the card. Ashford Industries. A phone number. An address in the part of town she hasn't walked through in 2 years because it hurts too much to remember what having money felt like. Why? The word comes out broken. You don't know me. I know you protected my son when you had nothing. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. He stands, and even in this diner full of ordinary people, he seems otherworldly. Think about it. The offer stands until tomorrow. He leaves without ordering coffee. Margot stands there with the business card in her shaking hand, while Mrs. Chen starts talking again and the breakfast crowd returns to normal. Bernie comes out of the kitchen. "Friend of yours?" "I have no idea," Margot whispers. That night, wrapped in her father's flannel in the storage room, she turns the card over and over in her hands. Room and board. A real bed. A chance. She thinks about Caspian's storm-gray eyes. "Thank you for keeping me safe." She thinks about Theron's scarred knuckles and the way his voice had softened when his son was near. She thinks about the rain and the cold and the endless nights of nowhere to go. At sunrise, Margot pulls out her phone, the one she's kept charged at the library, the one she never uses because she has no one to call, and dials the number. A woman answers. "Ashford Industries." Margot's voice cracks. She clears her throat. "I'm calling about a position. For Mr. Ashford." He said, "Miss Hayes, we've been expecting your call. A car will pick you up at Murphy's Diner at 9 o'clock. Please bring your belongings." The line goes dead. Margot looks around the storage room that's been her home for 3 days. At the flour sacks and spare aprons and industrial shelving. At the single narrow window that lets in gray morning light. She has 30 minutes to pack her whole life. It takes 5. The Ashford estate isn't a house. It's a declaration of power. Margot sits in the back of a car that probably costs more than she made in 5 years, watching iron gates swing open to reveal a mansion that belongs in a Gothic novel. Stone and shadows and windows that watch like eyes. The grounds stretch forever. Manicured gardens, ancient trees, a fountain with statues that look Roman or Greek or impossibly old. Miss Hayes, the driver, an older man with kind eyes and an accent Margot can't place, catches her gaze in the mirror. "Don't be frightened. It looks forbidding, but it's home." "Home," Margot repeats. The word feels foreign. The car stops at the front entrance. The door opens, and a woman in her 60s, with steel-gray hair and a dress that screams British housekeeper, looks Margot up and down. "You're shorter than I expected," she says. "Sorry?" "No matter, I'm Mrs. Vera Blackwood. I run this household, which means I run everything Mr. Ashford doesn't have time for. You're late. The car just... Punctuality is measured from when you wake up, dear. Come along." Margot follows Mrs. Blackwood through doors that belong in a museum. The entrance hall has a staircase wide enough to drive a car up, floors that gleam like dark mirrors, and a chandelier that probably weighs more than Margot. "Mr. Ashford is in meetings until this evening," Mrs. Blackwood says briskly. "You'll meet Caspian after his lessons at 2 o'clock. Your quarters are in the east wing, 3 doors down from the young master's room. You'll take meals with him unless otherwise instructed. Your duties include companionship, light educational activities, and ensuring he's never alone." "Never?" Mrs. Blackwood's expression softens a fraction. The boy has nightmares. His mother died 2 years ago. He's been through 4 nannies since then. They all quit. Too much responsibility, they said. Too much pressure. Her eyes lock on Margot's. "Mr. Ashford is hoping you'll be different." "Why? Because I was homeless?" "Because you were kind when you had nothing to gain." Mrs. Blackwood turns down a hallway lined with portraits, men and women with Theron's bone structure, and those same unsettling amber eyes. "That's rare in our world." Our world. The way she says it makes Margot's skin prickle. "What exactly does Mr. Ashford do?" Margot asks. "Everything that needs doing." Mrs. Blackwood stops at a door, pulls out a key. "Your room? Unpack? Rest. I'll fetch you at 2. The door opens on luxury Margot hasn't seen since she had an apartment in the city. A 4-poster bed with cream linens, a window seat overlooking the gardens, a bathroom with heated floors and a tub deep enough to swim in. A closet already filled with clothes in her exact size. How did you... But Mrs. Blackwood is already gone. Margot sets her plastic bag of belongings on the bed. Her father's flannel. 2 pairs of underwear. A travel toothbrush. A photograph of her parents on their wedding day, bent and faded. Next to the bed is a note in heavy masculine handwriting. "Miss Hayes, welcome to our home. I've taken the liberty of providing some essentials. If anything doesn't suit, inform Mrs. Blackwood. You start tonight. T. Ashford Essentials. Margot opens the closet again. Jeans that look designer. Soft sweaters. Dresses that are elegant but practical. Running shoes and boots and slippers. She sits on the edge of the bed that feels like sleeping on a cloud and starts to cry. At exactly 2 o'clock, Mrs. Blackwood returns and leads Margot through the mansion to a bright room filled with books and toys and afternoon sunlight. Caspian sits at a small table, carefully coloring a dragon with purple crayons. He looks up. His face transforms. "It's you!" He drops the crayon and runs to Margot, wrapping small arms around her waist. "Papa said you were coming. Mrs. Blackwood didn't believe me." "I always believe you, young master," Mrs. Blackwood says dryly. "I simply don't comment on your father's decisions." Margot kneels down to Caspian's level. He's wearing miniature versions of his father's formal clothes, tiny slacks and a button-down shirt, but his feet are bare, and there's purple crayon on his thumb. "Hi, sweetheart," she says softly. "Remember me?" "You kept me safe." His storm gray eyes are serious. "Papa said you're going to stay with us now. Are you?" Margot glances at Mrs. Blackwood, who nods almost imperceptibly. "If you'd like me to," Margot says, "I would like it very much." Caspian takes her hand with the grave formality of a much older person. "Would you like to color dragons with me? I'm making one for you." His name is Grayson, and he protects people from the rain. Something in Margot's chest breaks and heals at the same time. "I would love that," she whispers. Mrs. Blackwood leaves them alone. Margot sits on the floor with Caspian, coloring dragons and listening to him talk about his favorite books, and the garden maze and how his father can speak 7 languages. He doesn't mention his mother. He doesn't mention why he was at that hotel, crying in the rain. Margot doesn't ask. At 5 o'clock, Caspian's tutor arrives, a stern woman who eyes Margot suspiciously, but says nothing. At 6, they have dinner together in a small dining room, just the two of them. Caspian eats like a bird, pushing food around his plate, until Margot makes up a story about a prince who needed to eat his vegetables to fight dragons. He takes 3 bites of broccoli, watching her with those 2 old eyes. "You're good at stories," he says. "My dad used to tell them to me." "Is he gone like my mama?" Margot's throat tightens. "Yeah, sweetheart, he is." Caspian nods slowly. "Papa says Mama is in the stars now." "Do you think that's true?" "I think the people we love stay with us even when they're gone." Margot reaches across the table, squeezes his small hand. "In the stories we tell, in the way we remember them." "I like that." Caspian's voice is soft. "Will you tell me more stories? Before bed?" "As many as you want." At 8 o'clock, Margot reads to Caspian in his room, a space that's both child's bedroom and small palace. He falls asleep halfway through the 3rd book, his hand still clutching the corner of her sweater. Margot carefully extracts herself, tucks him in, and turns to leave. Theron is standing in the doorway. Margot's heart stops. She has no idea how long he's been there. He moves, like silence itself. In the dim light from Caspian's nightlight, he looks less human than ever. His eyes catch the light and throw it back wrong. "He's asleep," Margot whispers, moving toward the door. Theron doesn't move. They're inches apart in the doorway, close enough that Margot can smell something expensive and unfamiliar. Cedar and night air and something metallic. "Thank you," he says quietly. "It's my job." "No." His eyes move to where Caspian sleeps, and his expression shifts into something raw. Keeping him fed and safe is your job. Making him smile again, that's something else entirely. Margot doesn't know what to say to that. Up close, Theron is overwhelming. Not just handsome, but magnetic in a way that feels dangerous. She takes a step back, and he lets her pass. "Miss Hayes," his voice stops her at the stairs. "You should know what you've agreed to. Watching your son? Living in this house." Theron's amber eyes pin her in place. "There are things about my family that aren't ordinary. Things that might frighten you." "I've been frightened before," Margot says. "I survived." "This is different." Then tell me what I need to know. A pause. For a moment, Margot thinks he's going to say something impossible, but then Theron just shakes his head. Get some rest, Miss Hayes. Tomorrow will be a long day. He disappears down the hallway without making a sound. Margot stands at the top of the stairs, heart pounding, and wonders what she's walked into. The first week passes like a dream. Margot wakes in her cloud bed, spends days with Caspian, and falls asleep to the sound of wind in ancient trees. The boy opens up gradually, talking about his mother, about feeling alone, about nightmares where everyone leaves. Margot tells him stories and holds his hand and teaches him that it's okay to be sad sometimes. The rest of the household is harder to figure out. Mrs. Blackwood runs everything with ruthless efficiency, but watches Margot with something like approval. The tutors and staff are polite but distant. And Theron appears at odd hours, always watching, always measuring. He joins them for dinner twice. He asks Caspian about his day and listens with complete attention, but his eyes keep drifting to Margot like he's trying to solve a puzzle. On the 8th day, Margot wakes at 3 a.m. to screaming. She's out of bed and running before she's fully conscious. Caspian's room. The screaming is high and terrified, and Margot bursts through the door to find him tangled in his sheets, sobbing. No, don't go. Please don't. Caspian, sweetheart, wake up. Margot sits on the bed, gathers him into her arms. You're safe. It's just a dream. He clings to her, small body shaking. She was leaving again. She was walking away and I couldn't move. Shh, I've got you. I'm here. You promise? His voice breaks. You promise you won't leave? Margot's heart cracks. I promise. Margot? Another voice, rough with sleep. Theron stands in the doorway wearing sleep pants and nothing else, and Margot's brain stops working for a full 3 seconds because apparently the man is built like a classical sculpture. Is he... Nightmare, Margot says quietly. He's okay. Theron moves to the bed, sits on Caspian's other side. The boy reaches for his father without letting go of Margot, and for a moment they're a strange tableau. The child, the homeless woman, and the man who might not be entirely human. The dream about Mama? Theron's voice is gentle. Caspian nods against Margot's shoulder. Tell me what helps, Theron says. Margot's stories, about the people who stay. Theron's eyes meet Margot's over his son's head. There's something in them that makes her breath catch. Gratitude, yes, but also something darker. Hunger, maybe, or loneliness. Would you tell him a story? Theron asks. Please. So Margot does. She tells Caspian about a boy who was afraid everyone would leave, until he learned that some people stay not because they have to, but because they want to. She talks until his breathing evens out, until he falls asleep between them, one hand holding hers and one holding his father's. He's out, Margot whispers. Thank you. Theron carefully extracts his hand, but he doesn't leave. The nightmares have been worse since his mother died. You're the first person who's been able to calm him down this quickly. He just needs to know someone's there. It's more than that. Theron's voice drops. You actually care about him. Not about the job or the money or the access to my world. You care about Caspian. Of course I do. Margot looks down at the sleeping boy. He's easy to love. Silence. When Margot looks up, Theron is staring at her with an intensity that makes her skin feel too tight. You should get some rest, he says finally. He'll sleep through now. Margot nods, carefully disentangles herself. At the door, she turns back. Theron is still sitting on the bed, one hand resting on his son's head, and in the moonlight he looks both powerful and unbearably lonely. Mr. Ashford? Theron, he corrects. Just Theron. Theron, what did you mean when you said there are things about your family that aren't ordinary? His expression shifts into something unreadable. Do you really want to know? I think I need to. Not tonight. Theron stands, and even in the darkness he moves with that predatory grace. But soon. When you're ready. How will you know when I'm ready? His smile is sharp as a blade. Trust me, Margot. I'll know. He leaves, and Margot stands in the hallway, heart racing, wondering why his use of her first name feels like a promise and a threat rolled into one. 2 weeks become 3. Margot settles into a rhythm, mornings with Caspian, afternoons in the gardens, evenings reading by the fire in the library while the boy does homework. Theron is gone often, returning late with shadows in his eyes, and occasionally blood on his collar that he doesn't explain. Margot doesn't ask, but she notices. She notices other things too. The way no one in the household ages. Mrs. Blackwood looks exactly the same in photographs from 20 years ago. The way Theron and his business associates hold meetings at midnight. The way sometimes, when Theron looks at her, his eyes flash with light that isn't human. On the 23rd night, Margot finds him in the library at 2 a.m. "Can't sleep?" she asks. Theron looks up from papers spread across his desk. He's disheveled for once, shirt unbuttoned, hair falling across his forehead, that careful control slipping. "Perpetual problem," he says. "You?" "Caspian's sleeping soundly. I thought I'd read." Margot gestures to the shelves. "If that's okay." "This is your home now. Read whatever you like." "Your home." The words settle into Margot's chest like a weight and a relief. She browses the shelves, leather-bound classics, modern literature, books in languages she doesn't recognize. She pulls out a collection of poetry and settles into the chair across from Theron's desk. They sit in comfortable silence for 20 minutes before Theron speaks. "You haven't asked." Margot looks up. "Asked what?" "About what I am. About what this household is." His amber eyes are steady. "Most people would have run by now." "I don't have anywhere to run to." "That's not why you stayed." Margot sets down her book. "No, it's not." "Then why?" "Because Caspian needs me. Because for the first time in 2 years, I feel like I have a purpose again." She meets his gaze. "And because whatever you are, you're not cruel. You're not monstrous. You love your son, and that's what matters." "Even if what I am could be dangerous." "Everyone's dangerous in the right circumstances." Margot's voice is steady. "You want to tell me you're a vampire, Theron?" "Fine. I grew up reading Anne Rice and watching Buffy. I'll adjust." The shock on his face would be funny under other circumstances. "You knew." "I suspected. The photographs. The night meetings. The way your eyes catch light." Margot shrugs. "Also, Mrs. Blackwood called you my lord last week when she thought I wasn't listening. That's not normal employer-employee dynamics." Theron leans back in his chair, and for the first time since Margot met him, he laughs. It's a rusty sound, like he's forgotten how. "You're taking this remarkably well." "What's my other option? Panic?" Margot smiles slightly. "I've been homeless, Theron. I've slept in alleys and wondered if I'd eat that day. You being a vampire is weird, sure, but you've given me a job and a home and a little boy who makes me want to be better. That matters more than fangs." "It's not just fangs." Theron's expression turns serious. "It's politics and danger and a world that doesn't play by human rules. There are others, other vampires, who won't approve of you being here. Who'll see you as a liability or an opportunity. Then they'll have to go through me to get to Caspian." "Margot, I mean it." She stands, walks to the desk, plants her hands on the wood, and meets his eyes. "I told that boy I wouldn't leave. I don't break my promises." Theron stares at her like she's a miracle or a curse. He can't decide which. Slowly, he reaches out and touches her hand, his skin cool, careful. "You're either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish," he says quietly. "Can't I be both?" His thumb traces the scar on her knuckle, the one from when she cut herself opening cans behind the diner. "Most humans would be terrified of me." "Most humans haven't seen what real monsters look like." Margot doesn't pull away. "The landlord who evicted me knowing I had nowhere to go. The boss who fired me to save his bonus. The people who walked past me in the street like I was invisible. You're not a monster, Theron. You're just different. Something in his expression fractures. For one moment, Margot sees past the control and the power to the man underneath. Lonely and tired and holding himself together through sheer will. Stay, he whispers. Please, Caspian needs you. He stops. We need you. Margot turns her hand over, threads her fingers through his. His skin is cool but not cold, real and solid, and there. I'm not going anywhere, she promises. They stay like that, connected across the desk, until the first light of dawn creeps through the windows. Everything changes on the 31st day. Margot and Caspian are in the garden maze when 3 people arrive at the estate. She sees them from the center of the maze, 2 men and a woman, all beautiful in that uncanny way that screams vampire. They move with Theron's predatory grace, their clothes expensive, their smiles sharp. Mrs. Blackwood appears at the maze entrance, her face grim. Miss Hayes, young master, come inside, now. The urgency in her voice makes Margot move. She scoops up Caspian and follows Mrs. Blackwood into the house, through a side entrance, up the servants' stairs to Caspian's room. Stay here, Mrs. Blackwood orders. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone except Mr. Ashford or myself. What's happening? The council has come calling. Mrs. Blackwood's expression is stone. And they know about you. She leaves. Margot locks the door with shaking hands. Margot? Caspian's voice is small. Who were those people? Just visitors, sweetheart. Your father will handle it. But through the door, Margot hears voices rising, cold, cultured, and angry. You brought a human into your household, Theron? Have you lost your mind? My household is my concern, Counselor Dane. Not when it affects the secrecy we've all sworn to maintain. A woman's voice, sharp as glass. She's a liability. She knows what we are. She's also under my protection. Touch her, and you'll answer to me. Your protection. A laugh, cruel and amused. How very noble. Tell me, is she warming your bed as well as watching your half-breed son? The crash that follows shakes the house. Caspian flinches against Margot, and she holds him tighter, heart pounding. Say that again. Theron's voice is death. I dare you. Gentlemen. Lady Seraphine. Another voice, older, with an accent Margot can't place. Perhaps we should discuss this civilly. There's nothing civil about breaking our laws, Lady Seraphine again. The human has seen too much. She's a threat to us all. She's no threat. Theron's voice is steady now, controlled, which somehow makes it more frightening. Margot Hayes is Caspian's companion and part of this household. If you have objections, take them up with me. We will. Counselor Dane's voice drips with menace. At the convocation next week, where you'll explain to all the assembled houses why you've endangered us for the sake of one human woman. Silence. Then footsteps. The sound of the front door closing. Margot waits, counting her heartbeats. 100. 200. Finally, a knock. Margot, it's me. Open the door. She unlocks it. Theron stands in the hallway, and for the first time since she met him, he looks shaken. There's a crack in the wall behind him. His knuckles are bleeding silver. I'm sorry, he says. I'm so sorry. I should have anticipated. Who were they? The council. The governing body of vampire houses in this region. Theron runs a hand through his hair. They're concerned about you. Concerned. Margot's laugh is shaky. That's one word for it. I won't let them touch you. Theron's eyes burn. I swear it. They called Caspian. Margot's voice drops to a whisper. They called him a half-breed. Theron's expression turns to stone. His mother was human. She died in childbirth. The pregnancy was too much for her body. The council has never forgiven me for loving her, for having a child with her, for not choosing a vampire bride. I'm sorry, Margot whispers, for your loss. For theirs. Don't be. Theron moves closer, and Margot can see the barely restrained rage in every line of his body. Loving Natasha, having Caspian, those are the best choices I ever made. The council can rot for all I care. But this convocation will be handled. His hand cups her face, cool and gentle. I won't let them take you from us. From him. I promise you, Margot. Whatever happens, you're safe here. Margot wants to believe him, but she heard the hatred in those voices, the contempt. She's been disposable before, to her company, to the city, to the world. She knows what it feels like to be the thing people throw away. Theron, she whispers, maybe I should go, before this gets worse. No, the word is absolute. You belong here, with us, and he stops, jaw tight. I won't lose anyone else I care about, not to them. Not to anyone. Anyone else I care about. The words echo in Margot's head long after Theron leaves, long after she puts Caspian to bed and lies in her own room staring at the ceiling. She's in danger. Real danger. Because she knows too much and because the world Theron lives in doesn't allow for humans who aren't prey. But leaving would mean abandoning Caspian. It would mean breaking her promise. It would mean never seeing Theron again, and that thought makes her chest ache in ways she doesn't want to examine. Margot falls asleep to the sound of wind in the trees, and dreams of amber eyes, and promises she doesn't know how to keep. The week before the convocation passes in tense preparation. Theron is gone more than he's home, and when he returns there's a dangerous energy around him that makes even Mrs. Blackwood keep her distance. Margot focuses on Caspian, but the boy senses something's wrong. Are you leaving? He asks one afternoon, his voice small. No, sweetheart, I'm staying right here. Promise? I promise. But Margot doesn't know if she can keep that promise, and the guilt eats at her. 3 days before the convocation, she finds Theron in his study at midnight. He's standing by the window, staring out at the grounds, and he doesn't turn when she enters. You should be resting, he says. So should you. Margot closes the door behind her. We need to talk. About? About what happens if the council decides I'm too dangerous to keep around. That won't happen. Theron, it won't happen because I'll challenge every single one of them if I have to. He turns and his eyes are blazing. Do you understand what you've done, Margot? You walked into this house with nothing, asking for nothing, and gave my son something I couldn't. Hope. Peace. A reason to smile again. You did that with kindness and stories, and your stubborn refusal to give up. You made me remember what it feels like to have someone in this house who cares about more than power or politics. Theron crosses to her, and suddenly they're standing inches apart. You made me feel like maybe I haven't completely failed as a father, as a man. Margot's breath catches. You haven't failed anything. The council thinks otherwise. They think Caspian is weak because he's half human. They think I'm weak for loving his mother. His voice drops. They'll think I'm weaker still when they learn I've fallen for another human woman who has a habit of protecting what's mine. The world stops. Margot stares up at Theron, at the vulnerability in his ancient eyes, at the way his hands are clenched at his sides like he's holding himself back from reaching for her. You've fallen, she whispers, recklessly, completely, against every rule I've ever followed. He does reach for her then, fingers brushing her cheek. You were supposed to be temporary, a kindness to repay a kindness. But you made yourself essential, Margot, to Caspian, to this house, to me. I'm human. I'm temporary by definition. Then I'll have you for whatever time we're given. His thumb traces her lower lip, and Margot's heart races. If you want me, if you're brave enough to love a monster. You're not a monster, Margot breathes, and I already told you, I don't break my promises. She kisses him. It's reckless and stupid and the best decision she's ever made. Theron makes a sound low in his throat and pulls her against him, and Margot learns that vampires kiss like they're trying to memorize your soul. His hands are careful on her waist, his mouth cool and perfect, and when they finally break apart, they're both breathing hard. The Council will use this against us, Theron warns. Let them. Margot's fingers curl into his shirt. I've survived worse than vampire politics. Not these vampires. But he's smiling, that rare expression that transforms his face. You're either the bravest woman I've ever met, or the most foolish. I told you, I can be both. He kisses her again, slower this time, with a tenderness that makes Margot's chest ache. When he finally pulls back, his forehead rests against hers. I will protect you, he murmurs, whatever it takes. I swear it on every year I've lived, on every power I possess. You're mine now, Margot Hayes, and I protect what's mine. I can protect myself. I know. His smile is soft. That's part of why I fell. They stay like that, tangled together in the darkness, until dawn creeps through the windows and reality comes calling. The convocation is held in a building that looks like a cathedral made of shadows. Margot isn't supposed to be there. Theron made her promise to stay at the estate with Caspian, but she's never been good at following orders when the people she loves are at risk. She slips into the gallery with Mrs. Blackwood's reluctant help, hidden in the darkness above the main hall where hundreds of vampires have gathered. They're beautiful and terrifying. Dressed in clothes from every era, their eyes glowing in the dim light. Theron stands alone in the center of the hall, facing the council on their raised dais. He looks like a king himself in his black suit, absolutely still, absolutely controlled. Counselor Dane speaks first. Theron Ashford, you stand accused of endangering our kind by revealing our nature to a human and allowing her access to our world. How do you plead? Not guilty. Theron's voice carries through the hall. Margot Hayes is under my protection. She knows what we are because she's intelligent and observant, not because I told her, and she's no threat to anyone. She's human. Lady Seraphine leans forward. They're all threats. You know our history, Theron. What happens when humans learn about us? I know what happened centuries ago. I also know times have changed. Margot has kept our secret for over a month. She's saved my son's life, improved his quality of life, and asked for nothing in return. How touching. Another counselor, a man with white hair and dead eyes. And what happens when she wants more? When she demands to be turned? When she uses her knowledge for blackmail? She won't. You can't know that. I do. Theron's eyes flash. Because I know her. Better than any of you. She's not driven by greed or fear or ambition. She's driven by compassion and loyalty. Qualities I suspect most of you have forgotten. The hall erupts in angry voices. Margot grips the railing, heart pounding. This is going wrong. They're turning on him. Enough! The oldest counselor stands, a woman with silver hair and eyes like starlight. Theron, you ask us to trust your judgment. But your judgment led you to love a human woman once before, and that love produced a half-breed child who weakens our bloodline. My son is not weak. Theron's voice drops to something deadly. And I'll fight anyone who says otherwise. Of course you will. You're blinded by human sentiment. The woman's smile is pitying. First Natasha, now this Margot. You collect broken human women like others collect art. The words hit Margot like a slap. Is that what she is? Another broken thing Theron took pity on? You know nothing about her. Theron's control is cracking. Margot Hayes has more strength and courage than half this council combined. She's survived things that would break most of you. She protected my son when she had nothing, gave him her only possession to keep him warm, and asked for nothing in return. She's not broken. She's extraordinary. Then let us meet this extraordinary human. Lady Seraphine stands. Let us judge for ourselves whether she's worthy of the risk you're taking. No. Theron moves forward. I won't let you near her. Then you admit she's too weak to face us. I admit I don't trust you not to hurt her. Theron. The silver-haired counselor's voice is gentle. You're only making this worse. If the girl is what you claim, let her speak for herself. Silence. Every vampire in the hall turns to look up at the gallery. At Margot. Her heart stops. How did they... Did you think we wouldn't sense a human heart beating in this hall? Lady Seraphine's smile is sharp as knives. Come down, Margot Hayes. Face those you've endangered. Margot looks at Mrs. Blackwood, who's pale, but nods. There's no choice now. She's been seen. She walks down the stairs on shaking legs. The hall parts for her, hundreds of immortal eyes tracking her movement like predators. Margot keeps her chin up, her spine straight, and walks to stand beside Theron. His hand finds hers, fingers intertwining. You shouldn't be here, he murmurs. Neither should you. Not alone. How very touching. Counselor Dane circles them like a shark. Tell me, Miss Hayes, do you know what you are to us? To our world? A liability, Margot says steadily. A risk. A human who knows too much. And yet you came anyway. Why? Because Theron was facing you alone, and that's not right. Margot's voice doesn't shake. Because whatever you think of me, whatever judgment you're about to pass, I wanted to look you in the eyes when you did it. Brave. Lady Seraphine tilts her head. Or stupid. Perhaps both. Definitely both, Margot agrees. But I've been scared before. I've been powerless before. I won't be either again, not if I can help it. The silver-haired counselor studies her. You were homeless, destitute. And then Theron offered you a position, a home, security. Why should we believe you're not simply using him for survival? Because I could have used him weeks ago. Margot's voice is clear. When he first offered me the job, I could have taken the money and run. Could have sold my story to the press for enough to start over. Could have demanded more, leveraged what I knew. She squeezes Theron's hand. I didn't. Because I care about Caspian. Because this household treated me with more respect than any human institution ever did. And because Theron Ashford is a good man. Vampire, human, whatever he is. And he deserves someone who sees that. The hall is absolutely silent. You love him. The silver-haired counselor's voice is soft. Margot meets her eyes. I do. Then you're a fool. He'll outlive you by centuries. He'll watch you age and die while he remains unchanged. Is that the future you want? I want whatever time I'm given. Margot's voice cracks but doesn't break. I've been alone. I've been invisible. I've been nothing. And then Theron gave me a purpose and a family and a reason to wake up in the morning. Maybe it won't last forever. Maybe I'm just a moment in his long life. But I'd rather be a good moment than nothing at all. Theron's hand tightens on hers. Margot, no. She turns to face the council fully. You want to know if I'm a threat? I'm not. You want to know if I'll expose you? I won't. You want to know if I deserve to be here? Her voice rises. I don't know. Maybe I don't. But I know Caspian deserves to have someone who reads him stories and holds him when he cries. I know Theron deserves to have one person in his life who isn't using him for power or politics. And I know I'm willing to fight every single one of you to keep them safe. The challenge echoes through the hall. Somewhere, someone laughs. The human has teeth, Counselor Dane says. How refreshing. A moment. The silver-haired counselor raises her hand. Miss Hayes, do you understand what you're asking? To be part of our world requires sacrifice, secrecy, isolation from your own kind. You'll watch everyone you know age and wonder why you don't. You'll live in shadows and half-truths. I already did, Margot says quietly. When I was homeless, when I was invisible, that was living in shadows. This is the first time in years I've felt seen. The counselor studies her for a long moment. Then, impossibly, she smiles. I vote to accept her. The hall erupts, vampires shouting, arguing, some in support and some in fury. But Margot doesn't hear them. She's looking at Theron, who's staring at the counselor like she's sprouted wings. Katerina, he breathes. You. I remember what it's like to love, despite the cost. Katerina's ancient eyes are sad. I remember choosing love over law, and I remember what it cost me. She turns to the council. This human has courage. She has loyalty. She stood before us knowing we could kill her, and chose defiance over fear. That's rare. That's valuable. If Theron Ashford wants to risk his heart on another human, who are we to stop him? We are the law, Lady Seraphine hisses. We are survivors. Katerina's voice is steel, and we survive by adapting. Times change. Perhaps we should change with them. The vote is close, 5-4 in Margot's favor. When it's announced, Margot's knees nearly give out. Theron catches her, pulls her against his chest, and she can feel his heart racing despite the cool skin. You're staying, he murmurs into her hair. You're really staying. I told you, I don't break my promises. They leave the convocation together, hand in hand, and Margot doesn't look back at the vampires watching them with hungry, curious eyes. 6 months later, Margot wakes in Theron's bed to weak winter sunlight streaming through curtains heavy enough to block it completely. His arm is draped across her waist, his face peaceful in sleep. Actual sleep, the kind vampires don't technically need but sometimes indulge in for comfort. She traces the line of his jaw, and his eyes open immediately, amber and warm. Good morning, he murmurs. It's noon. Still morning by vampire standards. He pulls her closer, nuzzles her neck. We kept very late hours last night. Margot flushes, remembering. Caspian has a recital at 3. We should get up. 5 more minutes. His lips find the spot behind her ear that makes her melt. I'm comfortable. You're insatiable. Only with you. They compromise on 10 more minutes, then shower together, a luxury Margot still can't quite believe is real. And dress for the day. Margot in one of the elegant dresses Theron keeps buying her. Him in casual clothes that make him look less like a vampire king, and more like a dangerously attractive man. Caspian's recital is at the conservatory downtown. He's been practicing piano for months, and when Margot and Theron arrive, he lights up like the sun. You came! He hugs Margot tight. Both of you! Wouldn't miss it, sweetheart. Margot kisses the top of his head. You're going to be amazing. He is. Margot watches with tears in her eyes as Caspian plays a piece he wrote himself. Something sweet and melancholic that sounds like loneliness turning to hope. When he finishes, the small audience applauds, but Margot doesn't care about them. She cares about the way Caspian's eyes find theirs, how his smile is bright and real. After the recital, they take him for ice cream. Margot sits in the booth with Caspian on one side and Theron on the other, and realizes this is what happiness feels like. Not grand gestures or perfect moments, but this. Ice cream melting in the afternoon sun, a little boy talking about music, a man's hand finding hers under the table. Margot? Caspian's voice pulls her back. Yeah, sweetheart? Are you going to marry Papa? Margot chokes on her water. Theron goes very still beside her. What makes you ask that? Margot manages. Because you love each other. Caspian says it matter-of-factly, like it's obvious. And you live together. And you make Papa smile. So I thought maybe you'd get married. Margot looks at Theron, whose expression is carefully neutral. They haven't talked about this. Haven't talked about what the future looks like when one of them ages, and the other doesn't. Would you want that? Margot asks carefully. If we got married? Caspian considers this seriously. Yes. Because then you'd really be my family. Forever. Oh, sweetheart. Margot pulls him close. I'm already your family. Forever. Marriage or no marriage? Promise? I promise. Caspian nods, satisfied, and returns to his ice cream. But Margot feels Theron's eyes on her, heavy with questions. Later, after Caspian is asleep, and they're alone in the library, Theron pulls her onto his lap. Forever is a long time, he says quietly. I know. Longer for me than for you. I know that too. Margot, he stops, jaw tight. I want to give you everything. A real future, a real life. But I can't give you time. Unless I ask you to turn me. The words hang between them. Theron's hands tighten on her waist. Is that what you want? I don't know. Margot's voice is honest. I know I want to be with you, with Caspian. I know I want more time than a human lifespan gives me. But becoming a vampire, that's permanent. That's losing the sun and changing everything I am. Then don't decide. Theron's forehead rests against hers. Not yet. Not until you're sure. But you'd do it? If I asked? In a heartbeat. His voice is rough. If you wanted to spend eternity with me, I'd give you that gift without hesitation. But only if you're sure, Margot. Only if you choose it freely. And if I don't? If I stay human? Then I'll love you for every year you're given. His thumb brushes her cheek. And after you're gone, I'll remember. The way you laugh, the way you tell stories, the way you made my son feel safe and made me feel human again. I'll carry that through eternity. Margot's throat tightens. That's unbearably sad. That's love. Theron's smile is soft. The beautiful, terrible, absolutely worth it kind. She kisses him then, slow and deep, and doesn't think about the future, or eternity, or choices she'll have to make. She thinks about now. About the man holding her like she's precious. About the little boy sleeping upstairs who calls her family. About the home she built from nothing. I love you, she whispers against his mouth. I know. His smile is wicked. You stood before a council of vampires and threatened to fight them for me. It was a significant clue. Smart Alec. You love it. He's right. She does. A year after Margot walked into Theron's life, the Ashford estate hosts a party. It's a small affair by vampire standards, just a few dozen people. Human and vampire both, celebrating Caspian's 8th birthday. Margot moves through the rooms, making sure everyone has drinks and the food is warm, and still can't quite believe this is her life. She's wearing a dress Theron bought her, midnight blue with silver threads that catch the light. Her hair is styled by Mrs. Blackwood, who's become something like a friend. And on her finger is a ring Theron gave her last month. Not an engagement ring, but a promise. Eternity or mortality, whatever you choose, I'm yours. You're glowing, Mrs. Blackwood says, appearing with fresh champagne. I'm sweating. This dress is beautiful, but not practical. Take the compliment, dear, Mrs. Blackwood smiles. You've done good work here. The boy is happy. The master is happy. The household is happy. You built something real. We built it together. Margot squeezes her hand. I couldn't have done this without you. True, but I couldn't have done it without you either. Mrs. Blackwood's eyes are knowing. You gave this house something it desperately needed. Hope. Don't underestimate that gift. She disappears into the kitchen. Margot takes a moment to breathe, to center herself, and then Theron is there, pulling her into a quiet corner. Having fun? He asks. Exhausted. But yes. Margot leans into him. Caspian's happy. That's what matters. He's not the only one. Theron's hand cups her face. Margot, I need to tell you something. Her heart skips. That sounds ominous. It's not, it's... He stops, and for the first time since she's known him, he looks nervous. I spoke to Katerina about options. For us. Options? Ways for you to live longer without becoming a vampire. Blood bonds, aging spells, ancient magic that could give you centuries without changing what you are. His eyes are intense. I don't want to pressure you, but I wanted you to know there are choices. If you want them. Margot's throat tightens. You researched aging magic for me? I'd research anything for you. Move mountains, burn down the world, challenge the council again, whatever it takes to keep you in my life. Theron, I love you, Margot Hayes. However long we have, whatever you choose, I love you with every immortal fiber of my being. And I need you to know that. Before you make any decisions, before you think about the future, I need you to know you're loved. Margot pulls him down and kisses him, not caring who sees. Not caring about vampire politics, or human limitations, or anything beyond this moment. I love you too, she whispers, and I'm not going anywhere. We'll figure it out. Together. Together, he agrees. From across the room, Caspian spots them and grins. He's surrounded by friends, human and vampire children both, playing together like it's the most natural thing in the world. He waves, and Margot waves back. This is what she fought for. This family. This home. This beautiful, complicated, absolutely worth it life. The rain that brought her here feels like a lifetime ago. That scared, cold woman in the alley seems like a different person. But Margot knows the truth. She's still that woman. She's just not alone anymore. And that makes all the difference. Later, when the party winds down and the guests leave, Margot finds herself back in the garden maze with Theron. The stars are out, bright and infinite, and his arms are around her waist. Thank you, she says softly. For what? For seeing me. When everyone else looked away, you saw me. Margot. His voice is rough. You made yourself impossible to ignore. You were brave and kind and absolutely infuriating in the best way. I didn't see you. You demanded to be seen. Maybe. She turns in his arms. But you were the one who looked. Best decision I ever made. He kisses her temple. Besides letting Caspian wander off in the rain. Margot laughs. Don't let him hear you say that. He'll start wandering off on purpose. Heaven forbid. They stand there, wrapped in each other, while the night deepens around them. Somewhere in the house, Caspian is sleeping peacefully, safe and loved and whole. Somewhere, the Vampire Council is probably plotting their next move. Somewhere, the world keeps turning. But here, in this moment, Margot Hayes has everything she never knew she needed. A home, a family, a love that defies logic and time and every rule ever written. And she's finally, absolutely, undeniably happy.